Hey MYM community, it's me Chris Wesley with a vlog edition of our usual Marathon Youth Ministry blog post. It's something that I am doing in tradition with our summer ministry vlog week, something my buddy Tom Pounder came up with last year, and so this is the second year of us doing it, and so I'm excited to share with you my vlog, and maybe it's something that I can do more of in the future. I don't know, you tell me after you watch this, but what I want to talk to everyone about is something that's important because I think it's on a lot of our hearts and minds right now, and that's preparing our volunteers to serve in ministry. And for some of us, we're getting back into fall mode, we're moving out of summer mode, and it's in the summer that we recruit a lot of new volunteers. And so anyway, I want to give you guys a couple of tips to help you prepare your volunteers for the fall. All right, so get your pen out and a notepad and let's go. All right, tip number one. You want to create community. You want to try to create as much community as possible. And so for you, that might mean, doing something social, like maybe it's a Labor Day cook-off before you get started, or maybe it is, when you have a meeting to talk about some of the logistics, and everything. Instead of spending all your time talking about like what types of pens they need and how they should dress and what time they should arrive, maybe it's just spending time getting to know one another, laughing, playing some of those games that maybe you use in ministry to get to know one another a little bit better. So tip number one, build community. Tip number two, create a prayer culture, all right? You want to create a prayer culture because, let's face it, we need prayer. We need God to be a part of this ministry. I mean, that's why we're doing ministry, right? Because God called us to do that. So you as a leader, of course, pray for your people, spend time, in the morning or in the evening, just, lifting up their names and praying for them, especially the new people. But also think about this year, different places where you can incorporate prayer into the actual ministry. So for example, there's meetings, and at the beginning and the end of meeting, definitely have some time dedicated to prayer. Maybe it's establishing a regular time once a week where your team prays for one another, and you can use technology like Zoom, where you all get on an online chat or Google Hangout and you pray together. Or maybe it's just you send out a prayer email, or find a devotional that people can sign up for. Or maybe it's even right before you serve in the ministry, gathering the team together to do a huddle and praying for one another, praying for the people you're about to serve. The third tip I'm going to talk about is your communication strategy, all right? You want to not only develop a communication strategy, but communicate that to your volunteers. They need to know how they're going to hear from you. Are you going to, shoot them an email? Are you going to shoot them text messages? Are you going to, rent a plane with a banner and communicate to them that way? How are you going to communicate to your team and make sure that they know that? A couple of recommendations that I have is create a newsletter, or bring them to a social media platform like Facebook, and maybe not all of them have that, and that's okay, but Facebook or Instagram, and do little video messages like this. Communicate to them, using text message as well as email. No matter what, make sure you clarify to them how you're going to communicate to them. All right, fourth tip is partner up the new ones with the old ones. Or in other words, partner up your new volunteers with your veterans, right? Because let's face it, serving in ministry, especially youth ministry, can be really scary the first time around. And you want to break down any of those fears that they have. You want to wipe away any anxiety, and sometimes that's giving them someone who's a little bit more confident, someone who's going to help them and show them what to do. So connect them with a mentor. Now, the easiest thing would be to say, okay, here's a list of all my new volunteers, here's a list of all my current volunteers, let's just match them up. But another way, and probably a more effective way, even though it might be a little bit messier, is to go to your to your new volunteers and say, okay, Jim, I have 3 guys that I'd love to connect you with, Bob, Chris, and John. And you let me know if you've connected with any of them at the last meeting that you were at. I'd love to make them your mentor to help you get acclimated to ministry. So allow them to choose. By having a mentor, again, it not only gives them that support and wipes away that fear, but it expands your capacity. I'd love to hear what kind of tips that you have when it comes to preparing your volunteers, especially your new ones. Share them here on the blog or on our Marathon Youth Ministry Facebook page. If you're not a member of the community, I'd love for you to subscribe because we have some exciting things coming up, especially this Friday on August 11th on the newsletter. We've got some big news and I don't want you to miss out on it. So please definitely subscribe to that. Thank you again for joining me, and I can't wait to connect with you in the future.